Hello, everybody. Andy here from Glass Half Dead, the #1 best kill team channel on the internet. Unless, of course, you're aware of literally any other channel on the internet. So, guys, girls, yeah, whatever the other G would be there. We've got the balance patch, and it's a big one. So, this is really exciting. I've got to be honest, this is probably going to be quite a long video. This video is going to be me just dry AF, as foretold, reading every single change and giving a few comments here and there about what those changes may imply for me and my level of play. Um, and the good news is that you see all of these. Normally, when we get this many updates in the past, what that means is that we have had an incredibly dull one word changed in our equipment. And every faction, therefore, has to have their equipment changed. And I'm happy to report that's not the case today. And that's really cool. And I will say, put our hands together for GW. They are slowly learning. So there has been a change to universal equipment, but that's not what these changes are. So, you know, GW's doing a new way of giving out all of their rules, and they are slowly iterating on how they can best do that, and they are continuing to step forward. That's really nice to see. You know, we can't expect people to get things right the first time, so nice to see that. We have day one FAQs for Murderwing and Celestian Insidiants. I am going to go over what I believe are the most popular teams first and the things that everybody needs to know. So if you tune out halfway through, you won't miss anything interesting. And don't worry about the teams I literally know nothing. I will skip. There you go. For the sake of brevity, I'm not going to be covering the rotated out teams. However, there have been plenty of changes to all of them. Not all of them, sorry. There's been Death Corps, Corsairs, no, not Murderwing, sorry, that's the new team. Warp Coven, Pathfinders, etc. So if you are playing one of those older teams that are currently not GT or, you know, Golden Ticket, that is GT, tournament legal, go check those rules. I won't really be able to add anything you can't on your own, so that's all good. However, we have had, again, new universal equipment, no new core rules. That's nice, that's good. But we've got a lot going on here. We've also got our big Wolf Scout nerfs, Koptek nerfs, Deathwatch nerfs. No stealth suit buff, though, unless I missed that. No stealth suit buff, which is in itself worth a chat. So this is going to be the long video, and then because, you know, clickbaiters got to click, right? This is the slop farm video. And on Friday, I'll probably do kind of as everybody does these days, because we're all terrible, terrible people. Do a winners and losers. So if you just want a shorter one, check out a video on Friday. Right, let's go over to the approved ops card pack. That's right, we have actually had approved ops updates, which is super cool. So it's only a very quick update to recon for both flank and retrieval. In general, people are finding that recon is probably still, you know, last year it was drop beacons, what was it called? Beacons, I don't know. Being one of the best ops in approved attack ops in the game. Now people are having some fun still with the recon archetype. And today we've had flank and retrieval updated. So very quickly, they've really only changed the wording on flank a little bit. They haven't nerfed it at all, in my opinion. But basically, it used to be that if you had held your flank at all during the game, you could double score it on turn 4. Now you have to have held it turn 3 as well. I don't think that's a big deal. Cool. And then we have retrieval, where if you're already carrying a marker, you can't pick up a second marker. Cool, fine. I think that's nice and easy. I wouldn't even take them as nerfs. They're just updates. They are technically nerfs, both of them, but I really don't think this is going to have much of an effect. They're not nerfs, they're updates. Cool. We are then going to go into new universal equipment. But before we do, because yes, everyone now has access to a new breaching charge, I would like to very quickly give a subscriber only benefit. And that subscriber only benefit is a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome, truly the wholesomeness knows no bounds in tiring when you're not feeling wholesome. I've got to be honest, guys. Right, if you're also feeling wholesome, check out in the UK, Element, Wayland, Red October Games. I use all three of these depending on what I want. If you're in Canada, check out Northern Citadel. If you're in America, check out Wargame Portal. You should, of course, be supporting your local game store, but that's not always appropriate. So if you're feeling like dishing out some hot loot for your favorite YouTuber, consider checking out my affiliate links. It's all in the link tree or in my description down below. Alternatively, your actual favorite YouTuber also has affiliate links. This costs you nothing extra. You should be clicking on these. I click on them. I can't click on my own, sadly, but I click on them when I'm buying stuff from other people. Additionally, if you are a K tier like myself, check out either Crossfire or GG Easy. They have a whole bunch of game aids that you can use, and also transport boxes if you're going to not even just local tournaments, but local, don't know why my voice cracked there, but also just, what's the other word? Oh, game store. Yeah, like I use mine every single time I play. As you have seen on my battle reports, I use these pieces of equipment. Cool. Which also, amusingly, obviously, as we've had day one FAQs for Murderwing and for, what are the other guys? Celestians. My battle reports on tactical skew are now out of date, which is great. There's also been a scouts update. So my scouts versus Celestian Insidiants already wasted my fucking time. Nice. Oh, sorry. That sounds like I'm being jaded and bitter. I really wasn't. I don't care. It's fine. But it's funny to pretend that I care. So we've gone over that. We then go over breaching charge. This is super simple. You can use up one of your equipment slots to be able to, for 1 AP, go through a Tomb World breaching door. Nice. Which is good. I think this needed to be in the game before, because sure enough, there were some teams that really, really messed up because of where their breaching walls were. So I like to see this. Good addition. We then go over to Celestian Insidiants. So very quickly, I'm going to do the new teams, Celestians and Murderwing. These are almost nothing changes, but they're there. So cool. So basically now, the Denuncia, who is your lady that is almost like your comms, who can take inspiring offer model and then give the martyrdom, the benediction, sorry, to somebody else. You now can't give them exigence. I believe exigence is the one that makes them APL 3. Yeah, that sounds right, doesn't it? Probably. Because that's the one that you shouldn't be able to give out. That sounds crazy. I don't know which one exigence is. There you go. But one of your benedictions you cannot give out from her just swapping around your things, which I would say is going to be a nerf to them. If that is removing the APL 3 turn 1 that you can guarantee to always do, that seems, I don't know if the team needs it, that nerf, but maybe it does, right? I mean, this is a day one FAQ, which means this was always intended. Even though it's in blue, which means it is an edit, not magenta, and therefore a magenta is a balance change. This is always supposed to have been there, which I think holds true, because clearly if they're making a day one edit, it would have been found in play testing and then just missed. So fine, cool. We then have the Murderwing. So they've just kind of updated how Murderous Descent works. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You can still Murderous Descent. You just, on Volcus or an open board, you just have to be higher than the enemy. Done. I think this is, because it's literally called Murderous Descent. This is clearly how it was supposed to work, in a very similar way to how Raveners Rive into sight was never played as Rive out of sight was always played as Rive into sight. It probably should have always been that. Cool. We then get to AOD. AOD have had a buff. What? This is, I'm shocked. I'm legit shocked. So firstly, your heavy intercessor used to just have a bolt gun, which means you in essence couldn't shoot twice. Or if you did, you had to stand still. Now you have a bolt pistol. So you can move, bolt pistol, heavy bolter. That's a really big buff. That's a really big buff. In addition, you can now take both your sniper and your heavy intercessor. That's really good. I like that. Yeah. So I think, do I need to say anything? No, this feels like it's, nah, screw it. It's the long form video, right? So I took AOD. I think AOD is actually still really strong, totally has gameplay, even in the current meta. I think if you're running AOD, to be clear, these are tiny touches, and it's a touch to one operative, right? But I think that This is a good change. I think the Heavy Intercessor is a great pick on any open map. So him just getting a buff is good. Sometimes, you know what? You do want to be able to throw forwards an 18 wound Marine because it's a block. Not really because you're looking to do damage, but now you will have a little bit more damage to your name, which is good. So I'm happy to see that. The real question here is now, are you also going to drop another melee to take the sniper? I don't know if you always will. The way I normally play this team is that if I'm on open, I take the heavy, and if I'm on into the dark or whatever, then I will take the Tomb World. Then I will take the sniper because being able to seek light really messes with people. So this is good. Now the question is, on Tomb World, will I drop a melee for the heavy intercessor? I'd have to play around with it. I don't think it's always the pick because the way I tend to play is I like to do my melee. So there you go. We shall see. Cool. But this is nice. It's a little buff, little update. I don't know if you. So okay. Like a year ago, more than a year ago, I dropped off of all the Kill Team Discords, all the other Kill Team channels. I watch like one other Kill Team channel. That's about it. So I don't listen to any of the thought leaders out there. I don't really know what they're saying anymore these days. And so when I took AOD as a counter pick to Wolf Scouts in that first tournament, I didn't know that apparently other people are saying AOD is really strong and top players are really noticing it. So fuck you, I'm a top player by your definition. Yeah. But apparently top players, this sounds like some bollocks if I'm honest, are already felt that AOD was in a good place into some of the top teams. So this is just making them better. Good to see. Okay, we then get Nem Claw. So this is a really quick one. Chain snares can't be used twice a turn. Easy. Now, good, because I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, I assume that this same change has been made to Mandrakes as well. So I heavily dislike playing into Nem Claw because inevitably the opponents that I play, we tend to be quite evenly matched in skill. And so a 50-50 4-up going off twice in a turn will win then the game 100%. So I like that they've made this change. Good. Right, we then have Wolf Scouts. This is going to be big, right? This has to be big, right? Okay. So before I read, I don't know what it's about to say. Before I've read this, in the past, I have said that I think the Storm needs to be lowered in distance, in range. However, people very validly pointed out that there is a 6-inch stick on their token sheet, so they probably won't, which I think is totally valid. Which means they're a lot harder to balance. So this is going to be a very interesting one, and I will be very interested to see what they've done. So, Straploy, Storm's Bite. Whenever a friendly Wolf Scout operative is fighting against an enemy operative that's within your storm, subtract 1 for the attack stat of that enemy operative's melee weapons to a minimum of 3. Okay, cool. So this used to be, this didn't have anything to do with the storm. So this was just always, if I recall, I think, they've also jumbled around these words, so I don't quite know where of that enemy operative's melee weapons to a minimum of 3. Why was that needed to be added? I can't remember the specifics. So basically, teams are still going to be -1 into this team. No, Storm's Bite was always in the Storm. Okay. We'll come back to that. No, we'll do it now. So Storm's thingy, right? So what did this used to be, guys? Come on. Storm's Bite used to be, whenever an enemy operative is within your storm, subtract 1 for the attack stat of its melee weapons to a minimum of 3. Okay, bear with me, because that sounds like the same. Whenever an enemy operative is within your storm, yeah. What? Okay, hold on. Whenever a friendly Wolf Scout operative is fighting against an enemy operative that's within your storm. Okay, so whenever an enemy is in your storm, now whenever a friendly Wolf Scout operative is fighting against. Okay, so, cool, right. Jesus, these rules. Okay, so basically, Now, if they charge you, you'd be retaliating, therefore you're not fighting. Cool, love to see it. Good. That is a big change. That is actually very big. It now means that you can have counterplay into melee teams. I like this change. I have said from the start that I think one of the really, really big benefits of Wolf Scouts is how cagey they can play. This lowers their ability to be cagey. That is good. Now, I should point out, I do not know how cagey people were playing Wolf Scouts because in the past, you could be incredibly aggressive, and that was the easier way to play them. Now, you can be cagey, but less cagey. So this is good. In fact, now that I think about it, it means you can't be cagey, doesn't it? So you have to be more aggressive. Yeah, okay, bollocks. Okay, let's keep going. Hasn't lowered their efficiency in how people were actually playing them. Whenever a Wolf Scout operative finishes fighting or retaliating, so Savage Fighters is now only on retaliating. Okay, so they've made Storm's Bite work only when you're attacking, and Savage Fighters only when you're retaliating. Okay, okay. So they've charged and fought you. They are 4 attacks, but you will get your last hit of D3 plus 1. But if you charge them, you won't get your last hit of D3 plus 1, but they will be -1 attack. Okay, all right. It's a bit of a trade. It's a bit of a trade. I like it. It kind of lets you play either way. Cool. Either way, you have a benefit. And don't forget, again, Wolf Scouts do have to be stronger than a regular Assault Intercessor Marine. They're lower health, they're fewer models. They need to be strong. For the pack leader operative, you cannot use the counterattack firefight ploy or inflict damage as a result of the Savage Fighter strat ploy at the end of that action. Good. So, if I, hold on. It's an additional text. You cannot use the counterattack firefight ploy or inflict damage as a result of the Savage Fighter strat ploy. I'm assuming that what this means is that when you die and live on 1, you can't also do Savage Fighters, which is good because that was obviously crazy. Like it made him arguably one of the most damage dealing models in the game, which is cool. And then we have the Fenrisian Wolf Operative. This operative cannot perform a guard action. I think that's good. I had never come across it, but it obviously makes perfect sense because you are a 10-inch guard charge. Like, you can't escape it. That's been the problem with the Wolf. With an 8-inch move, +2 for charge, you could be anywhere on the board. Like, you were outrageously fast. Having your Wolf go first almost as a wasted action and then just guarding. So you could move, guard, and it's like, you have full control of the board wherever you want to be. And you would, of course, use that guard to just immediately charge someone, maybe when they've gone to a point, and then they can't touch the point. Incredibly strong. We then have oh, wow. So they've actually FAQ'd how the base works. This is cool. How should movement for the Fenrisian Wolf, 60 by 35mm base, be measured if that operative rotates during a movement? No part of its base can move more than the permitted distance, so if it rotates, include the distance it rotates while measuring. For example, if the operative can move it. I'm not going to read it. Basically, with this operative, you must measure from the back of the base. There you go. However far your most furthest back, your rear part of the base moves, is your movement. As you rotate, the base, the back of the base is what you. That's going to be the easiest way to measure this. Cool. Nice. That is how it should be. That makes perfect sense. Cool. No changes to the Fangbearer. I know that a lot of people said the Fangbearer needs a nerf, but no. Cool. All right, let's go to the Koptek Circle. Now, I know the Koptek Circle a little bit less, so this is going to be, because I've done my absolute best to avoid playing them, to be clear. So, Obelisk No Matrix weapons on its data card have the accurate 1. That's good. So that's a big nerf from accurate 2. That is good, I think. I like to see it. Accurate 2 was just outrageous. It made them a team that you didn't need dice, which is good. But if you don't need dice, whereas every other team needs dice, that's part of what makes them the strongest team in the game because of their consistency. Now, if you're consistently weak, that sucks, but they weren't. So we then have the Koptek control action. During that action, it cannot move more than 2 or must be set up wholly within 2 if it's removed and set up again. Hold on. And you can't do it while counteracting. The Koptek control action. Okay, so I actually have to check this to make sure that I'm not about to say the wrong thing. Koptek. So the Koptek control action. So the Koptek control action is visible within 6. That's obviously going to be from 1 AP action 3. It cannot move more than 2. Has this already been updated? I don't think so. So, okay, all right, fine. Let's not dilly-dally. I don't know what that update was. Cool. Macrosite Reanimator Operative. After that action, so this is your medic. But must end that action, so we've added, but must end that action within this operative's control range or within your operative node matrix. Subtract 1 from this and that operative's APL stats until the end of their next activations, respectively, and if this rule was used during that operative. Okay. So again, they seem to have just changed this to be kind of in line with other medics, because this reads like a normal medic thing. I don't know what they've changed, because this is just what a medic does, a normal medic does. So there you go. I'm going to be honest, I really wanted to see them change this to say that you cannot resurrect the big guys. Yeah, but they haven't. I think that would have been enough, but oh well. They've lowered the Macrosite Warriors to attack stat 3 instead of 4. That's nice. And they've changed the Gore Scalper to be 2-3 instead of 3-4. That's good. And the Warrior Operative, Tesla Caster, has had the... So the Tesla has been changed to attack stat 4. Was it 5 before? Jesus. What was this team? And then Macrosite Warrior Operative on a 2+ inflict 1 damage on that. Good. Okay, that's really useful. So as an elite team, I've played into Koptek 3 times total, to be clear. So, but what I felt was that, has it always been on a roll? The D3 really sucked. So when I played against them as my Deathwatch, it was really a struggle to go in and like deal damage, even to the Macrosite Warriors, who I knew I could kill, or like almost guaranteed. But like they were going to do a normal hit, probably a crit, let's be honest, but a normal hit, so 3 plus D3. So like I could easily go into a charge on an expendable operative that gives me nothing. I need 2 hits to kill it. So it's going to do minimum kind of like 5 damage. And it's like, and then it respawns. Now it's minimum. So 1 damage, I think is fair. Although I could put myself in the Koptek Circle's mind. I don't think so. I think a good Koptek Circle player doesn't care, because that's not what they were relying on. But 1 damage is a little bit limp-wristed. I don't pillow-fisted. I don't know what this is for. Also, has it always been on a 2-up? I actually have to check that, because I thought it just went off, didn't it? Oh, it has. Shows you how much I have played against Koptek. Okay, cool. And that's it. So these seemed like none of these are the changes I expected. I think accurate one's good. That makes a lot of sense. Although, you know, the accurate rule means now they're going to roll more crits. Knowing me, it means my Koptek opponents are going to just roll more crits now. That's great. They've generally lowered the damage output of this team, but you still have like 2 of the best weapons in the game on your big guys, on 21 wound models, on great, who are always going to be healed, going to be resurrected. Like, this is almost a stat check team for both damage output you can perform as your team, and survivability that they could put into you. And I don't think they've touched what needs to be touched. I think if you're a Koptek Circle player, I think I think you'll still be able to play Koptek Circle. There you go. Cool. We then go to the Deathwatch. So this is really exciting. So again, you're seeing my first read through of this, right? I don't know what we're going to get, but I'm concerned, because everybody out there has been saying like, oh, Deathwatch needs a nerf, but I really haven't felt they have. I really just felt they needed to change to Aegis and then done. But we've had Veteran Astartes. Relevant part of this says, first paragraph, change to read Plasma Pistol or Stalker Bolt, whether it's selected for both, or if a Melter Bomb is selected for either. 1 additional AP must be spent for the second action. Oh, okay. All right. Fine. Okay. So they've just added the Melter Bomb to that. I guess before you could have Melter Bombed for 1 AP and then bolt rifle shot for 1 AP now. So you can move your 5, melt a bomb, and shoot. Now you won't be able to. I think that's valid. Cool. And then we've had counter form of 5 shoot action doing the same counter action. Oh, what's this? Oh, okay. So that's quite a big nerf for the Deathwatch. So the big thing with Deathwatch as a 5 model team is that you relied on absolutely wrecking face, and really you were looking for quad kills. Like, if you got 1 quad kill in the game, you've probably won, okay? Now, they've removed that ability. Your max really is a triple kill, which is still great. If you get a triple kill, you're probably still going to win. But you've removed a quad because before you could, let's say as your last activation, shoot, or, ideally, right, you fight, kill, shoot, charge. And then as your counteract, you will fight, kill, shoot another guy dead. And like, yeah, you have an outrageous damage potential, and they've just curbed that a little bit. I think that's valid. I don't think it's what they needed curbed, but it will definitely help into horde teams, and I think that's good. I think Deathwatch ultimately were kind of a bastard for horde teams. Yeah. Just very quickly looking at the other things. I haven't made the video yet, but when I'm going to do a video about hard counters in Kill Team, and actually I think that Deathwatch needed the removal of being able to remove Plague Marine poison. Plague Marines have had a change, so maybe it's in there instead. That would be very cringe if so. It should be here, but yeah. Anyway, special issue ammunition, 4th and 5th bullet points changed to read. So you can either get piercing crits 1 instead of piercing 1, and you can't take rending. So, yeah, those were the 2 best things. So removing those, probably a good idea. There. Okay, all right, yeah. And then we get the long vigil. Whenever the doctor is shooting a friendly Deathwatch, oh, they've changed it to holy. Okay, so basically before, the long vigil and the shield that slays were your 2 things, and basically, for Deathwatch to be at their absolute best, you needed them, or you wanted them to just play stood on the center line, because then you were within both your half and their half, which meant that you got your damage reductions and both in melee, and you got your rerolls in defense. It made you incredibly durable. Now you have to be wholly within to get it, so you're having to make a decision, which is fine. I think that's okay. If I'm honest, I think that's okay. Yeah. However, you cannot lower critical damage of 4 or more, so that is a big change. I think that's the right choice. In general, I think that the sanctity of a natural crit should never be removed, unless it's like super, super important that it is for some reason. So I actually, just like you can't just scratch a crit, I think that no damage reduction, nothing like that should ever affect a crit. So because this fits into my worldview of the game, I'm glad they've made that change. Nice. Very cool. I think this is some small touches. Nothing here shouts to me as like, oh, team's dead. Nice. I like it. Good changes. Exaction Squad. So I don't know the hot meta with Exaction. I imagine these are going to be buffs. Let's see. Select 2 of the following attack patterns. Ooh. Okay. That's a huge buff. All right. And then you can change one of its attack. Ooh, okay. Damn. So your dog just got a big buff there. You used to have only one of the attack patterns, which basically meant you were either fast or you were killy. Now you are fast and killy. I can't even remember what their 3rd bullet point is, but now you're better. That's really cool. Then get your gunner operative, whose attacks on the grenade launchers, attacks that change to 5. And now you're 4/5. Oh. That's a huge buff. So you used to be attack stat 4. There you go. So you like, we all know. So grenade launcher, you're going to be either a frag or a crack, which in this meta means you're a crack. Let's be honest. So you're a piercing 1 5 attack dice gun. I have not runneth the maths, sir. That's really nice, and I think you're hitting on 3s with the grenade launcher. I can't recall, but I think the gunner hits on 3s. That's very tasty. That is a dangerous looking weapon now. We then get the Revelatum operative with the spot action. So they've removed the support keyword. In fairness, the support keyword has not been particularly revolutionary in the game so far, so it's not a big deal. So they have to be visible to and within 8 now, instead of just vis. Until the end of the turn point, whenever a friendly operative within 3 of this operative is shooting that enemy operative, you can use this effect. Oh, okay, cool. So now you just, if they're visible to within 8 of this guy, you just get unobscured. I think this is the unobscured thing. Yeah, that sounds right. And we then get faction equipment manacles. Is just that's just chain snares by another name, right? And you can't use it twice. Cool. I like to see it. There's a few buffs. The grenade launcher is always going to be on the team now, and big buff to your leash master and your dude. That's cool. The Hearthkyn Salvagers. Now I know nothing about the Hearthkyn Salvagers. I've played against them, but it doesn't mean I know them, and that was ages ago. So I'll read them. So we have strategy deploys, need keeps. So we have add 1. So it used to be add 1 to the attack stat of its melee weapons to a max of 4. If the weapon already has an attack stat of 4, it has the balanced weapon rule. So I don't know what that was before, but that's nice. You get balanced, cool. You get the Cognitar Operative Tactician. That for any operatives, weapons have the balanced weapon rule. Okay, so you're able to buff stuff to get balanced. And we get climbing rigs. Oh. During each friendly, so this is okay. During each friendly, Hearthkyn Salvagers operative's activation, you can do one of the following. When that operative is climbing, you can treat the vertical distance as 2, regardless of how far the operative actually moves vertically. When the operative is dropping, ignore the vertical distance. Okay. I have no idea what that was before, but that's good. There you go. In fact, if I'm honest, I actually think most. Anyway, moving on. So that's cool. I like these changes. They seem nice little buffs. Or nerfs. I don't know. Maybe they're nerfs. They seem like buffs, but maybe they were better before. The reason I'm saying they're probably buffs is because this isn't a team that needed a nerf. So there you go. One person plays them in London, and that's it. And he does well with them, but that doesn't mean they're going to get nerfed. Cool. We then have, who's this? The Navy Breachers. So a team that has consistently been absolutely trash in this edition. So I don't even know what they do. So we have the Strap Ploys Close Assault. Whenever a friendly Imperial Navy Breacher operative is fighting or shooting an operative within 3 of it, add 1 to both stats of all profiles of its Navis shotguns or Navis heavy shotguns, if any. If you roll 2 or more fails, you can discard 1 of them to retain another as a normal success instead. That's very consistent damage. So this is a team that had weird shotguns. They were from last edition, basically. So instead of being 4-4, as a lot of shotguns are, they were 3-3, if I recall. And you were hitting on 3s. Instead of a lot of shotguns, I'm thinking of scouts, to be clear, which hit on 2s. So you will now be hitting 4-4s, and you'll get a reroll if you double miss. So you should be expecting a lot more damage out of them. That's very nice. I mean, you have to be within 3, so yeah. Then we get Overwhelm Target. Use this firefighter ploy when you activate either friendly Breacher operatives while using the Breach and Clear faction rule. Until the end of that operative's activation, add 1 to its APL stat. Okay. I don't know what that was before, but you activate either friendly operative using Breaching. So you Breach and Clear, which is a faction rule. When you do it, you get +1 APL. Nice. That'll be used every turn. I almost wonder what this used to be, because this feels like what have they changed? When you activate either friendly operative, or maybe it used to be when you activate the first and when you activate the second. That was a bit more flexible, maybe. Mandrakes. Is it just chain snares? No, there's more. Good. So Mandrakes obviously won Worlds. I'm actually really surprised to see any changes to Mandrakes, because they haven't been super strong until somebody's ace came along and said, "Oh, they're strong actually." It's like, oh, okay. So these guys have been strong for a year and a half, but just nobody knew. So how we feeling? It is also a team that works because of bullshit, which is very Eldar, obviously. And so I do feel in general that with this sort of team, they have to be quite weak so that their shenanigans are what win them the game and not their stats. And I think that perhaps Mandrakes were a little bit too one or the other, perhaps, or both. I mean, they were a little bit too both. So let's see what they've done. Nowhere to hide, but it can't move more than its move stat if it's the charge action. Oh, okay, cool. So that's not a huge nerf, but basically nowhere to hide meant that you could charge through terrain. And obviously it just meant you got a 9-inch teleport in essence. Now it's a 7-inch teleport. Fine, cool, good. The Harrowing Whispers rule. So this is their leader. And this ability annoyed me so much. It's very similar to Vox Scream. Basically, if anybody's within 6 of you, roll a d6, and if you roll below, above, whatever their APL, then they can't activate that operative. But it was every time you tried to activate somebody, the same model. So potentially, they could stun lock a model, basically. So roll a d6. You cannot do so if you already interrupted that operative's activation with this rule or the Dirge Ward's operative. Okay, cool. So now you can only stun lock somebody once. Can't stun lock, you just stun. Cool, fine. Makes sense. I realized that it is in magenta there, so it was a balance change, but it should have always been that way. Yeah, it never needed to be the other thing. Having one interrupt is all you ever need. Anything beyond that doesn't make sense. The one interrupt still allows you to react to what you know the enemy wants to do. So Dirge More operative, hold on. Paradolic. Probably in a silent E there, isn't it? Paradolic projection action. These aren't cumulative with being injured. In addition, that enemy operative's APL stat cannot be added to remove all positive APL stat changes. It has. Cool. I think that's really good. Being able to just point at somebody who had just had a +1 APL and saying, take your +1 APL was dumb. That shouldn't be in the game. I like it. And they've had the chain snare change. Okay. These are very light touches. They haven't changed anything that I felt was egregious. So that's fine. We get a buff to the Farstalkers. Again, I assume it's a buff, right? So, Bow Hunter, Cold Blood, Heavy... Oh, sorry. This is lots of models. Okay. So the Bow Hunter, the Cold Blood, the Heavy Gunner, the Long Sight, the Pistolier, the Tracker, and the Warrior Operative Blade weapons. Damage stat changed to 3/5. It used to be 3/4. Cool. So they've just become quite a bit better on their Blade weapon. +1 on the crit. Cool. I can't really recall if this team has access to severe or easy crits, to be honest. That will define a little bit how strong this team is. However, as someone that has just been playing into Hearthkyn, who have a 3/5 weapon, those 5s are lethal into elites. So this is, yeah, like, this changes an elite from being a 4-hit kill to a 3-hit kill, which is massive if you get crits. We've then had all that done on all our melee. Literally all our melee. There you go. Blade weapon. The blade weapon for the Kasrkin as well. The blade weapon for the Stalker operative as well. All gone to 3/5. And we've also had some buffs to the Pistolier. Dual Croup pistols. Both things from 3/4 to 3/5. Cool. Yeah, that going to the 5s on the crits is actually really big. It does mean that you really need crits though. Hence why I say, you know, does this team have a way to get easy crits? Because otherwise this is kind of random. But yeah, this is going to force a lot of the elite teams to have to think about how willy-nilly one can be when just randomly charging them. But then we've also had the Kroot Hound's bad-tempered rule. This operative can immediately for a free charge action. You can change its order to engage to do so. This is in magenta and therefore a balance change. But let's be clear. This is clearly just how the rule should have always worked, and they only just got around to changing it. In case you don't know, when you can do a free action, it is free of cost, not restriction. Therefore, if you were being super cagey with your Kroot Hounds, as you must be, you actually couldn't use their bad-tempered rule because you were concealed. If you're on conceal, you can't charge. I suspect this would have been a rule that a lot of people forgot, and they still charged on a conceal, probably, because rules are complicated, and I don't think anybody can be blamed if that's how they read that rule. So I'm glad to see this enshrined in the tomes. That's good. That's good. Again, I'd have to actually read the Kroot rules, but this is nice. Like 3/4 is such a limp. We've got limp dick thing. I don't know, into elites. So 3/5 is really nice. Although it does kind of speak to the fact that you're having to buff other teams just to be able to deal with the current power level of Marines in general. Like, fine, whatever. We then have Battleclade. So I've played a bit of Battleclade. I had some decent luck with them, but I just couldn't deal with Nemclaw. And then it was like, well, what's the point? Because Nemclaw was super popular. The fucking bullshit team that they are. So it'd be interesting to see what happens here. It's because I'm a bad player, to be clear. Everybody online says, oh yeah, Battleclade just auto-delete elites. Not a problem. It's hordes they have problems into. I killed hordes, not elites. What was I doing wrong? I'm so confused. Okay. So, Newspheric Network. Right, there we go. So once during each, so this is your overall faction ability that allows you to cuck the enemy. Once during each friendly Battleclade operative activation, before or after it performs an action, you can spend 1 AP to transfer power. Okay. So, I don't really know what the difference there is. I thought you could always do that. However, the actual enemy fellow model that gets to do the action doesn't happen till after you've done your activation. Does that make sense? Presumably, I was wrong. Presumably, what it means now is that you spend your APA whenever you want, and then your other guy can do it immediately before you finish your activation, and then it's back to you and you continue. Because I thought there was a distinct difference between when you spent your AP to transfer power and when your fellow operative did his thing. So, pass. Oh, but you can move? What? You can then perform 1 AP action for free, but cannot move more than 2. Oh, that's actually pretty big. Being able to move now. So before you couldn't move. You had to specifically only use the Underseer, who could make them do a dash. Now you can move too. Interesting. Okay. Now, how much is that actually going to be used? I don't know. And it's perform a one, so you can charge. Maybe this is mainly going to be used to do annoying charges after the enemy manages to get a kill and they're waiting for that counteract. Now you can charge in, tie them up. I don't know. It's a buff, but I don't know if it's a buff they needed, if that makes sense, because you can only ever do these counteracts once, obviously. So you can't, for example, counteract once, move them into position, counteract the next time shoot, which would have been an obvious one. So I don't know how much you actually need this, but that's fine. You then get System Exorcism. Deploy cannot allow it to regain lost wounds, ignore the effect of being injured, or remove mission pack rules, or remove 1 APL that you've applied to it. From transfer. Okay, fine. Moving on. Combat Servitor Phosphor Blaster has Blast 1-inch weapon rule added. Interesting. So now it's going to be Severe Blast 1. Okay. Okay. So, I don't know, man. I guess if you were taking a Phosphor Blaster anyway, this is good. I really don't think, like, a Flame is still better and a Melter is still better. Yes, it depends what you're shooting into. Maybe there will be times where you want to run the Phosphor Blaster instead. I can see that perhaps. Like, with the new Kroot, they've got a lot of models, 12 model team, I believe. And so therefore they are going to be stacked up. And if one of them goes loud, you probably get to hit 2, whereas nothing else will be able to hit 2. Like, I don't know. Tough one. It's not bad. It's a good buff. And people were already saying that they sometimes drop a medic for the blast one, for the Phosphor Blaster. Fine. Servitor Underseer. Newest Fair Expert, unique action deleted, and data coronal acute. Oh, we've got a new ability? Geez, son. Okay, I'll go read the data coronal accumulator in a moment. We then get faction equipment, electromagnetic capacity. Whenever a ready friendly Battleclade operative is retaliating. So this presumably is now whenever a friendly Battleclade operative is retaliating. You don't have to be ready. That's good. That's significantly better. What does it do? I don't know. So this would have been, it makes you ceaseless severe? No, shock severe? You had a buff to your melee, but it was conditional, and now it's not conditional. There you go. They still have to charge you and fight you, but you could have gone already. So that's a big buff. That's good. And then your neurocyclic reserve cell. So this is one of those abilities where you roll a D3 at the start of the game. If you roll a 1, you can use it once in the game. If you roll a 2, you can use it twice. If you roll a 3, you can use it thrice. It's really annoying. It's one of those. There's not many in the game, but because this is such a core thing of your team, not rolling a 3 sucks balls. So, relevant part of third sentence, deleted. If you do, you can transfer power for 0 AP, but it cannot perform shoot-fired action during that activation. Ah, okay. So you're still rolling a D3. Who cares? Right, let's go find out Data Coronal Accumulator, chaps. This is going to be way at the top. No, it's not. It's going to be way at the bottom. Here we go. Data Coronal Accumulator on your Underseer. So they've deleted your ability to dash somebody. You can still do your normal network override. Now, in addition, you have Data Coronal Accumulator. You can't do it when you're within control range of enemy optives. Right, support. So that means the range can be extended. Determine the friendly Battleclade optives within 6 of this optive and or a friendly Battleclade autoproxy optive, then roll 1d3. If the result is equal to or less than the number of objective markers those friendly optives contest, you gain 1 CP. Okay. For the purposes of the comms device universal equipment, the distance it's being determined must be controlled at 3 to its distance requirement. Okay, so hold on. So, how many models are within 6 of me? And or a friendly autoproxy. Okay, all right, so it's both of you. If you want. If you want, it's both of your guys, which means probably your entire team. Roll a d3. If the result is equal to or less than the number of objective markers those friendly optives contest, you gain a CP. Okay, so if you hold all 3 objectives, you are guaranteed to get a CP. Or 1 AP from this guy. Cool. You don't really care about the support ability here, although obviously if you're running support, great. But because you're taking 6 from this guy and 6 from the auto proxy, you can, if you're, you then have to consider. It's a little bit of a win more. You've got to be already holding 2 objectives to have this worth rolling at all, and then it's only happening 2/3 of the time. Fine. It's good that they have a way to gain a CP. Team probably needs it. I would say the few times I've played them, I have felt very CP starved. Now, you're spending an AP to maybe have nothing happen. I generally don't like that as a design choice. Fine. However, I suppose it's kind of a free thing you can do because you can always move somebody as a normal network counteract. So changing that to be anything else is good. If you were already playing this model as it should be played, you were already a 2 AP model already because you were always dashing somebody. Now you don't have to dash somebody. So you can kind of still play it the same, but you might get a CP, which is cool. Bit of a win more button, but fine. Hierotek Circle. If you recall, Hierotek were absolutely nerfed into the ground, as everybody said. Let's see how they rock it now. So, have they reverted it? That's the real question. So, reanimation protocols. Friendly operative Hierotek is incubated to a maximum kill grade of 5 and goes down whenever a friendly Hierotek Circle operative is reanimated. Okay. So, reanimations work again, I guess. I believe that they had removed that. So, if you got a kill and that model came back, your kill grade didn't go back down. Now it's going to fluctuate again. What they've done here is they've kept them being a maximum kill grade of 5 instead of, I think they used to be 8, right? Because they didn't have any expendable operatives. So that was quite tough. Now they're still easier to score kill grade against, kill op against, but fine. I'm not sure. If I'm honest, I don't really like this way of doing it. But whatever, it's fine. And then we have the Chronomancer, or be removed and set up more than 2 that are doing that action. So all your guys with interstitial commands, it cannot move more than, or be removed and set up more than 2. So they've changed or be removed and set up more than 2. Presumably people were getting around with dumb teleport shenanigans. That's fine. Scout Squad. Now, folks, I've just done an ability, Jesus, because I read the word ability as I was talking. I've just done a battle report with Celestian Insidiants versus Scouts. Because this has gone up, I'll probably put that live today so that we can just get it out of the way. Because now what they were doing is significantly worse. Or sorry, yeah, what they did in that battle report would be totally different because this is a lot of changes. The reason I picked scouts partly is because they had their changes last time, and I didn't think they would get back to back with nobody playing them in the meantime, additional changes. So great. So forward scouting twice. So tactical maneuver, that's your, what's tactical maneuver? I assume that's the redeploy, right? Is that the redeploy? Or is that it's a dash? Tactical load blowing. Once per battle, strategic gambit, select one friendly operative. What? Fuck. As somebody that has to play against scouts, this is gonna piss me off, man. To be clear, good. Okay? They probably need it. The annoying thing is, that's really strong. That's their best thing. They get it again. Okay, alright, fine. Natural training, that are more than 4 inches from enemy operatives. I'm going to assume that used to be 6. Cool. Allows them to move as a strategic gambit. And then stealth relocation, more than 4. Again, I assume it used to be 6. Or it didn't, and it was 3, and that's a nerf, but I assume it was always 6. Firefight deploys raw physiology. Until the start of the next action, add 1 to its moveset, and you can ignore any changes. So that's like a super ignore injured. You get +1 to be 7-inch move. That's cool. I'll read the Starseas training in a sec. And then we get tracker operative, track enemy action, select 1 expended enemy operative within 8 of this operative. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know that had to be expended. So, cool. Seems fair. It could be anybody. Right. A Starseas training. This gets used every single turn, so whatever they've done here is important. I assume that total guess, I'm assuming that they've just put a bunch of stuff into one. Let's see. So use the firefight ploy. So it used to just let you shoot twice or fight twice for a CP. Okay. So until the end of the activation, that operative can do one of the following: either perform 2 fight actions, that's the same, or perform 2 shoot actions if an Astartes shotgun, bolt pistol, or bolt gun is selected for at least one of them. Normally, whenever I've had this used against me, it's just been I've been double shotgunned in the face. So fine. Perform 2 shoot actions with a heavy bolter, missile launcher, or sniper rifle, but 1 additional AP must be spent for the second action. Total guess, I'm going to assume therefore that actually you could not shoot twice with your gunners there, and now they've added that in here, but they've just said, hey, you have to have been given the +1 because it's going to cost you 3 AP to do this instead of 2, and you can't have moved. Cool. I think that's totally valid. That seems fine. Good. That's going to really help, I would say, against elites. As soon as that elite goes loud, you've just thrown away a crappy little knife scout who's maybe tickled them for 4 damage. Cool. Now they're getting double missile launched. That's going to be a real good play. I like that. It's going to help them into the elite matchup quite a lot, I would say. Also allows them to play a little bit more defensively with some pretty aggressive defense. And also, you're going to know they're going to do it because they would have +1 APL'd one of their gunners. And it's just like, try and avoid it. We've got a buff to Kasrkin. So, faction rules, rapid fire rule. Okay. Is it just they can shoot twice? We'll go and read it in a moment. Faction rules, skill at arms. So, light 'em up is now different. It's now ranged weapons have the severe. Okay, I don't know what that was before. I assume it was when you're shooting an expend. Is that what it was? When you're shooting, I know that for a while Kasrkin have had some very annoying things where you have to shoot expended operatives to get the buffs. I was like, great. So you don't get to make any strong plays at the start. You have to always play defensive. We'll go find out in a moment. Elimination pattern. Against an operative that cannot retain any cover saves or is being scanned. I don't know what that used to be. I assume that's rerolls. I assume that's ceaseless, maybe. As long as they don't have a cover save, seems fine. Neutralize target, cannot retain any cover saves. Again, shooting an operative that either cannot retain any cover saves or is being scanned. Okay, so whatever this used to be, that either can. So Okay, again, I don't know what it used to be, but now, if they're not retaining cover saves, which can be relatively often, so this includes if you've moved within 2 of them, etc., this is pretty strong. Whatever these buffs are, they are good. I don't know what they used to be. Oh, and we've had another additional veteran leadership. So we need to go read rapid fire and veteran leadership. So on the sergeant and the faction rule. Let's go to the sergeant first. Veteran leadership. Whenever this operative is in the kill zone and you use the Skeleton Arms Strategic Gambit, you can use 1 additional Skeleton Arms. Okay. Skeleton Arms are your faction rule. So let's go find our faction rules. So Skeleton Arms is any of these. Yep. Change to severe. Cool. So you can use 2. Good. This should have always been 2. This is a very questionable faction rule. So basically, you'll always pick Light Him Up, probably, because you always want severe. You'll use that turn 1. And what are you going to use? That dice inflicts 1 less damage. Oh, so you either go defense in shooting or a little bit better melee. Yeah, that stuff sucks, doesn't it? Right, rapid fire. Each friendly Kasrkin operative that doesn't perform an action which it moves during its activation can perform 2 shoot actions during that activation, but a bolt pistol, hot shot lasgun, or hot shot lasgun. Okay, cool. Bye. Being able to shoot twice instead of move is fine. Okay. You don't get to do it with any of your gunners, which means you're only doing it with your crappy little things, which is like, fine. I have a quick look for my own curiosity. I want to see what their faction equipment is, because this is the team that can have best. You can have Saturate, which of course is going to work with your abilities, where if they're not retaining cover save. Is that it? You get Accurate 1. Oh, if they're within 3, but you've probably moved to get within 3. And okay. I thought they... Is it a ploy? Am I thinking of a ploy? They have a way to get P1 crits 1. Is that right? Reroll on your defense dice, clearance sweep. Piercing crits 1 or piercing 1 instead of its... So, right. Because you get severe, that will work and trigger piercing crits 1. Good. That's the combo I was looking for. In general, I like, as a concept, the idea, because we have a whole system that 40k doesn't touch and Sigmar doesn't touch about retaining. And like, we need to be using that as a rule set more. I am so bored of bloody rerolls on everything. Give me accurate, make it proc into severe, and then give me something that lets me use that thing I've just automatically done. To me, it is... This needs to be a separate video, doesn't it? To me, in Kill Team, the only thing you truly have control over is movement, okay? But that's not bloody true. For 40k and Sigmar and all that crap, that is true. The only thing you have 100% control over is your movement. In Kill Team, we have 100% control over our movement, but we also have the ability to retain, to severe, to punishing, blah, blah, blah. Piercing crits is a great example. Now, with this team, I don't know if they have accurate, but doesn't matter. If you can guarantee the severe, like let's imagine they have an accurate 1 somewhere, they probably do. And then you have severe, which guarantees a crit. And then you have this piercing crits 1. This means that you have complete control over a critical damage. That's pretty good, you know? Anyway, cool. So this is going to significantly help their, what's it called? Lethality, which is good. Nice. Like to see it. Does this mean that this team now has play? Maybe. Pass. Miss me with that. I don't know. I haven't played them this edition. Right. I'm not going to force you. This is... I just wanted to highlight that the Star Striders have had a lot of buffs. And they have to be buffs. But they are a team that I don't know, so I wouldn't insult you by reading them and trying to guess. Like, you've seen me read teams that I do know, but I can barely remember their rules. I'm not going to read this. Just note that if you're a Star Striders player, have fun. Hand of the Archon. I don't know this team either, but they've only had 3 changes, so let's read it. So, we've had an additional rule, Torturous Vision. Lovely. However, we have the Alexicant Operative. He's kind of your drug guy. He's your druggie. In the ready set of each strat phase, you can select one friendly operative that has the combat drug to gain one of your pain tokens. Oh, okay. I don't know what that means, to be honest. Presumably before... Pass. Action equipment chain snare. Oh, chain snare change. Good. Again, I approve. Let's find out torturous vision. AKA me looking in the mirror. Boom. Kill me. So once doing each of your operatives activations, if it doesn't have any of your pain tokens when it forms either fight or shoot action, it can gain one of your pain tokens when you select a valid target or an end. Oh. Now I don't know this team, but that feels really good. This team lived or died based on its pain token generation, which meant that into some teams, you were significantly better than you were into other teams. This just means you get pain token galore. This feels like a big buff. I accept it's only once during each. Oh, it's each operative. So everybody has a pain token. Does that mean everybody's APL 3? Just guaranteed? I'm not going to read through the whole team. I don't care that much. I'm not going to play them, but shit, man. Where is their faction rule? What does this team do? I don't care. Fine. I suspect if you're a Hand of the Archon player, that alone will make you play them. I suspect that's a banger. Your Sybarite, sorry. Sibian, lol. Your Archon, whatever he was called, does have to be in the in the board. I suspect that actually probably just makes your decision to not give him any good weapons and leave him at the back of the board significantly easier. Before, maybe you would have taken a blaster pistol on him and then not taken the gunner blaster and the heavy dark lance, whatever it's called. And now you don't want that guy. You can't lose that ability. So you just give him nothing and sit him at the back of the board. Or, well, you give him melee and put him on your home objective, max. So we then get the... Oh, so this is Rattlings. Now, I actually know the Rattlings, so I can actually talk about it. I probably should have talked about this earlier. So, Fixer Operative. This is your guy... the Fixer. So the Fixer is your leader, to be clear. It used to be you have to select a visible dude. Now you don't have to. That's a really big buff. That's really good. Because, to be clear, you're a Rattling. You can't see shit. You can't see people in fucking strongholds. So this whole team has issues with visibility, to be clear. It's mad. But now you don't need visibility. This just gives you lethal 5. It gives everybody shooting the operative you've marked lethal 5. Which lethal 5 on this team is insane. Because basically everybody shooting has Dev 3. That's really strong. Cool. Yes. And then we have a really interesting change I hadn't seen coming, to be honest. So Purloined Rations and Lucky Round, very cool. They used to be mutually exclusive. Now you can double tap both of them on the same operative. One of them gives you lethal 5. One of them gives you hitting on 2s, I believe. Is that right? That sounds about right. But you used to be able to only use one or the other. Now you can do this. I think this is totally fine. I understand why they perhaps didn't want them both used at the same time initially, but I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue, especially when this team plays really, really cagey around actually not getting that many shots. So being able to stack it all on one shot is actually pretty important for the team, I would say, especially if you're going into elites, right? You might only get 1 or 2 shots a turn, right? So you need to say, this is the shot. And if I screw it, I'm screwed, you know? So I think this is fine. I don't think this changes how the team plays. It does, however, lock in how much of a joke the, whatever it's called, stolen thing is, that they haven't buffed that. In case you don't know, this team has a piece of faction equipment that nobody ever takes, to be clear, where at the start of the game you roll a d6 on a 1 or a 2, you lose a command point. On a 3 or 4, nothing happens. On a 5 or a 6, the enemy loses a command point. I've used it twice. Both times I lost a command point. So fuck that. Statistically, that's not how it should go. But that's my life, mate. And then we have Plague Marines update. So I did have a quick read of this. So there's actually, this isn't just a buff. So I'm quite surprised because Plague Marines have fallen off. Poison Vents. So whenever an enemy operative that doesn't have one of your poison tokens is activated within 3 of a friendly player operative, roll 1d3. On a 3, that operative gains one of your poison tokens. Poison Vents is the piece of equipment where if you take it and an enemy operative activates when within 3 of you, they take d3 damage. That is no longer the case. Now, on a 3 up, wait, hold on. On a 3, shit. That's only a 5 or a 6. Oh, that's terrible. I think you actually don't take this piece of equipment now. I think that's really bad. I think that's a huge nerf. Anyway, because it's only on a 5 or a 6. Jesus. Anyway, sorry, let's focus. It used to increase your poison damage because now, in case you don't know, poison with Death Guard Plague Runes only does 1 damage. If you're thinking of better poison, that would be from Raveners that does D3, etc., etc. If you're thinking of poison from Nemclaw with their Terrachem that does 2d3 or D3, yeah, it does D3, the Terrachem poison. This only ever does 1. Now, the reason for that is that you don't really need their poison to be doing damage because you have other abilities that trigger off them having a poison token. The extra damage is just a nice little chink in the armor, so to speak. I don't like this at all. On a 5/6, because the problem is, how often is this going to go off in the game? And then what could you have taken as a piece of equipment instead? I do think that Poison Vents will now be the first piece of equipment that you choose to drop. You can't drop the bell. You're not going to drop your plague grenades. Can't remember what their third piece of equipment is, so maybe you're dropping that one as well. But I really don't think you're taking Poison Vents. I think before you would take it. The thing is, the team does need help spreading their poison. They do struggle with that. So a way to spread poison is good. But on a 5/6, that's not. It's basically not worth it. Yeah. We then get Virulent Poison. They've changed how this works. So this is your. I think it's your heal. No, this is how you spread poison. So you used to have select one of the following. Now there's just one thing it does. So one enemy operative within 3 of or visible to and within 7 of that operative gains 1 of your poison tokens. Okay. So I believe this used to just be if they're within 3 inches of you, this just worked. Now it's if they're within 7 and visible, or within 3 and not visible, gains a poison token. And the other thing that it could do now doesn't affect. So this is just a buff, but I don't know. I guess an interesting question here is oh, it's a firefight ploy. Oh, it's a fire. Oh, I thought this was the Psyker. Sorry. Sure. So the team does need help with spreading their poison. Again, as I mentioned, I think Plague Runes are in a really bad spot because Deathwatch are the most played team, and Deathwatch can remove your poison. And team's fucked. There you go. Cool. Oh, a mere hour 10. Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to give you a big triple hello. Wow. So long. Damn. If you made it to the end of the video, let me know, because I always like, what were you doing? How did you stay on this video for so long? Actually, that was a pretty fun read. I've got to be honest, that was quite fun to read all of that. That's a lot of changes. There are definitely some teams there that in the past I've kind of glossed over because I didn't care. I see like Hand of the Archon. I see you. I see them. I get it. Now I understand the team. I could play Hand of the Archon now, you know? Whereas before, not really. I think Kasrkin still fall flat for me. They seem a touch boring. I'm not saying they're bad, not at all. But, those were some standouts for me. Rattlings got some changes I don't think are going to matter. I don't care about that. AOD, big change. Glad about that. Scouts, going to suck. I have to play into them already. And it's already a hard win. Good to see Koptek nerf, just in general. I'm glad that Wolf Scouts have had a touch. I was scared that they weren't going to be touched at all yet. So that's good. Because now, fuck it. We ball. I'll play them. Who cares? And then Deathwatch needed the nerfs. I think that's good. They got them. They didn't get touched much, which I think is actually in line with what I wanted. However, their changes haven't changed, in my opinion, the operatives you're going to take at all. So there you go. Cool. Hey, affiliate links. Use those, please. Thank you. These, I forgot to mention at the start, and if you made it to the end of the video, you already know this. There are no new viewers at the end of this video. If you're a new viewer at the end of this video that did not get this information at the start of this video, please genuinely let me know, because I'll laugh at myself. With affiliate links, there's no extra discount for you. It just gives me a kickback, but doesn't cost you anything extra. With these, you actually get money off. You get like 10% off with when you use my code, so you actually save money on these, and I get a kickback. So do consider checking GGEZ and Crossfire Systems. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. This is really exciting. I'm going to look at these teams and decide which I want to use as in a new battle report on Tactical Skew, testing out the new power levels. Cheers, everybody. Bye.